Hello, everyone. Before we get things started, I will give us about 3 minutes for more participants to join in. I'll be back shortly. I can see a couple more people joining in. I'll give it another minute before we kick things off. Thank you. Okay, it looks like we have a full house today. Great. So I'll kick things off. Hello and welcome to today's webcast. My name is Tosan Marte. I am the inbound marketing manager here at Accedo. Today's webcast is titled How to Build Video Apps Faster and Smarter with Accedo Studio. Before we get started, I just have a few housekeeping items to go over. Today's webcast is scheduled for 30 minutes, including Q&A. All participants are in listen-only mode, so please submit your questions at any time using the Zoom webinar Q&A panel. A recording will be available to all registrants after the webcast. And now for the speakers for today. We have Yi Tang. She's the solution engineer here at Accedo, and joining her is the senior product manager, Charles Young. The floor is yours, Yi.
All right, thank you so much, Tosan, and thanks to everyone who's joined so far. Now, before we get into the details of Studio Pro and the demo of Studio Pro, I just wanted to go over for a little bit how Accedo does what we do and what we are as a company. So essentially, we do focus on the end user experience of video applications, but we want to go beyond this and deliver more premium video experiences. And with over a decade of experience, we have our applications that we've developed on over 300 million devices. And in 2017, all these devices service about 30 billion requests. And we deliver our video experiences primarily through three ways. One is product, second services, and third through managed services. Our products include all the products under Accedo One, which is our cloud-based app publishing platform, and other products. And I'll talk a little bit more about this as we go on to the next slide. Services, we offer services for user experience design, user interaction design, and also some more bespoke professional service applications. And once all our applications are in market, we offer managed services to help support the applications so that if anything goes wrong, we're there to help. So before we step into a little bit more detail about the Studio Pro product, I wanted to take a step back and look at the whole entire video workflow, and just so that we understand that when we want to build engaging applications, it's difficult because of all the players that are involved. And we wanted to streamline this with Accedo One. So what we have in Accedo One are products for creation, management, and performance of video applications. On the creation, we have Studio, which is the focus of today's webinar. And we also have a product called Build, which is an application framework that allows us to build applications quickly. Under management, we have Control that allows you to configure and change your application. And Identity, which is an end user management platform. For performance, we have Optimize, which is a A/B testing platform, Insight for analytics, and Detect for error monitoring. And underneath all this are the services that support the products, including things like engineering, testing services, support, and user design. And all of this, the products and our services tie into third parties integrations. So these are the ones that are listed on the left-hand side. We see there's multitude of them, including online video platforms or OVPs, content management systems or that manage your metadata and content. And all these integrate with our products so that we have a cohesive solution that we can deploy on the platforms, which are shown on the right-hand side. So this could be phones, tablets, TVs, or set-top boxes, or basically anything that you would use that you could view video on. Now let's talk a little bit about why we first developed Studio Pro. When we were working on applications, we noticed that the video landscape is always changing. There's always new challenges. This is because new technologies always come up. There's new customer behaviors, and each business always wants to update their own needs and their business requirements. So everything's always changing, and sometimes it's difficult to keep up with this. We also noticed that a lot of existing options out there to help clients build their apps cannot offer either both performance and scalability. So we wanted to bring something to the market that would be able to take care of both. And video landscape is of course fragmented. So as we saw in the previous slide, there are a lot of third parties that we can integrate to, and this creates high integration costs, and it also makes it difficult to manage video apps. So we're looking at some ways to pre-integrate some third parties into the Studio Pro platform, so this integration cost doesn't get passed on to our customers every time. And lastly, managing app workflows and business logic can be quite complicated. So each company might have their own different workflows and business logics to how to monetize their applications. And with Studio Pro, we want to try to address that as well. So what exactly is Studio Pro? We call it a UX product that helps us to customize your brand experiences for your video applications. And we do this on all sorts of platforms. So this could be iOS, Android, Roku, some of the smart TVs and gaming consoles as well. And all of the applications that are on these platforms are developed in native code. So they all function very nicely and very smoothly and are of an interface that's familiar to the end user. And Studio also allows our customers to monetize and optimize the content. So depending on if you want to have a subscription model or an advertising model or a mix of both, we can help you do that. And this is a way that you can actually make use of your app to increase revenue and user retention. Third, we deliver targeted user experiences. So an example of this could be for a logged in user. They might have a different user experience. They may see more videos, as opposed to a user who's not logged in. They might not be able to see certain aspects of the application or to be able to view the premium content. And lastly, one big advantage of Studio is that it allows real-time changes to the app without having to make changes to the code. So this allows for somebody who is not a developer, who might not be experienced with code itself, to make changes to the application. So perhaps you wanted to make a theme change for a holiday, or you wanted to promote certain content. Somebody like a content editor or a UX designer can do this without having to go through and make changes to the code themselves. So this allows you to easily make changes and not have to go through much QA to test those changes. And of course, once these changes are made, the application is updated on the end user client side as soon as they reload the application. So we don't need to go through recertification, which usually takes a lot of time, some more QA, and a lot of back and forth that Studio Pro mitigates with our solution. So some customers that are using Studio Pro to develop their application and to maintain and update their application include some customers from North America that you might be familiar with, such as the CW, QVC, Bloomberg, and we also have a couple of international clients as well. These include customers such as TBN in Poland and VTC in Vietnam. One of these particular clients is beIN Sports. They are a global sports network, and they provide a lot of leading sports leagues, tournaments, and event programming. And they wanted to bring these type of events to Roku. And then we use Studio Pro to help them do this service. Some of the features there is that there's video on demand and live streaming, and authentication in that only authenticated users are able to see the live streams, whereas VOD is available to every user. And some key integrations there include video players that have some customization, analytics that help them gain a little bit more insight on who's viewing the videos and what is being viewed, and also advertisements. So that was an overview of Studio Pro itself. Now over to Charles, who will run us through a demo of the platform.
Thanks, Yi. I'm going to share my screen now. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Great. So what I want to do today is walk you through a scenario of using Studio Professional with one of our custom applications that we built that demonstrates a few Studio features. What I'm going to talk about today is modifying your application as if it was live in market, and adding a grid view to that application as if you're adding a new content for your application. So what I have here on the right of my screen is a sample application that showcases some typical elements of a video application. These include swim lanes, carousels, and other VOD or video on demand centric type of UI components. All these sort of elements are all controlled and are built from our Studio Professional web editor. What you see on the left here is the editor that represents this exact same screen on the iOS application. We have wireframe or low fidelity components that represents these exact same ones, and we're able to modify and add similar components without having to develop or resubmit the application for certification. This really empowers content editors, non-technical users to be able to modify their application as they see fit without the lengthy certification cycles. What I want to demonstrate today is to add a new component to this movies page, which right now is empty, as you see on my right. So with that, we typically have various endpoints, APIs, or feeds that we ingest our content from. Today, I have a feed that represents a typical JSON-based content representing popular movies or just a curated list of movies. As you see, we have a list of movies in this data array. I would like to add this to my screen to be able to showcase this in a grid-like format. So within Studio, I can go ahead and add a component. And I'm going to select a grid view component. Oops, twice. I'm going to add a collection. And this is the collection that represents the data source for our content. I want to paste in that URL that I had. And for the provider, I'm going to select the JSON provider. Lastly, I'm going to enter the collection path. This indicates where my list of content begins, and this is under the data item. Next, within the tile editor, I can then customize and create what exactly the grid view item would look like. Here, I want to add an image that best represents the asset for my swim lane, or for my grid view. Then here I have an array of data, and within it, I have a path to a URL field. So what I can do, and this is what the benefits of Studio is, I can directly define, using what we call a model binding system, a path to this value where our image can be pulled from. So within here, we can see the model represents our root item, and we can go from model, values, images, and poster, and then URL. Images. Yep, I create, I'm going to hit save. And then within my application, I can just restart it. As if a live app, I'll restart the Studio application. Navigate to my movies page. And there, after restarting the application, I've added a rich page of content from my application. And you can see here, it pulled in all the movies as described in the feed and showed them on my screen. This obviously gives a lot of flexibility. As content editors, we want to promote seasonal content. I am switching feeds for new content that my team has put together without really having to deploy our application. Next, what I want to do is add additional fields, customize the UI a bit further. What I'm going to do is take the style of the component of this grid. Instead of 2 columns, I'm going to go ahead and make it 3. Showcase here, 3 columns. And next, I'll also add a new text field. Similar to how we did it for the images, I'm going to add in a text field to point to the title of our asset. And here we can see that title is found in this designation field. What I'm going to put is model designation. And that will pull in this particular field here, in this case, a bridge of spies or whatever it may be for that particular item. I'm going to quickly modify the UI of this. I can customize the font. I'm going to make it white so it appears on screen. And customize even more granular functionality such as margin, padding, border, placement, all this granular type of UI editing without even having to write a line of code. What I'm going to do is add a margin around all sides so at least it's spaced properly. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Next, when I restart the application, I should see my updated style if I navigate to the movies page with now 3 columns and added in the metadata related to the item. As you can imagine, this is quite powerful when we want to make changes to our UI, when there are new content feeds or content metadata fields that our CMS or OVP provides. So not only from a stylistic approach, we can modify various things from a tile, the headings, and various other subcomponents. We can also control in much granularity the look and feel of our components, including margin, padding, and other properties, and add additional components as we see fit. On top of that, we have various other sections of the application we can explore, such as screens, theming, navigation, ads. But that wraps up the actual demo for today. Yi, I'll pass it back to you to go through if there are any more questions.
All right, thank you, Charles. I'll share my screen again. All right, now I believe there were a few questions that came in through the chat while we were presenting. So let's take the chance now to answer some of these questions. And in case we don't get through all of them, we'll try to provide answers to these later as well. So first question is, what platforms does it support? So Studio Pro works on iOS and Android, so that's either tablet and phone for both of those. We also support Roku, Apple TVs, Fire TVs, Android TVs, and there's also smart TVs such as Samsung and LG, and also some gaming consoles like Xbox and PlayStation. And lastly, we also have a application for web as well. So another question here is, does this have a common code base? And is this universal and platform agnostic, which are, I guess, kind of same questions. I suppose, Charles, do you want to take that?
Yeah, for sure. And so how Studio works is we build all our app native on iOS, Android, and pretty much on every platform that we support. And we have a server-side rendering capability where it pulls in the definition of its UI and all its layouts pretty much at runtime. This allows for the dynamic capabilities of our application to know when the app launches, it will know what it looks like and what sort of data it needs to pull in to do that. And as such, it's the components that you see that we played around with grid views and such, those are platform agnostic. They work on every platform that we support. And every application is built native for those platforms that we support.
Okay, thanks, Charles. Another question here is, how quickly can I deploy an application? So essentially, the point of Studio is to allow us to deploy applications quickly because of some of the pre-existing integrations and the fact that we don't need to go through all the code and make changes to the code themselves. We can use Studio Pro itself to build the applications. So we want, if your application is completely out of the box, that is quite quick to do. So that could be anywhere from like 1.5 months to 3 months to deploy an application. However, if there are really specific UI changes or other customizations within the applications that would be required, this would extend the time required for the deployment. So generally speaking, it really does depend on how much work is required. But we do try to make this as quick as possible. If there's any development work required, we also try to do as much of the configuration that we can while the development's going on, so that we can, of course, get to market as quickly as possible. And in terms of certification, we have good relations with a lot of the platforms. So usually our certification times are quite low as well. And another question here is, can I schedule changes on the platform? Perhaps, Charles, you'd like to take that on?
So scheduling changes on the platform is currently not supported. However, that's something that we're looking into to be able to deploy and make all these changes before schedule change, and then plan that for the future. We do have a light workflow, deployment workflow with our what we call additions, which is various sets of UI. We're able to make those changes manually and able to review them ahead of time. However, we can't do those scheduling to deploy those ahead of time. But that's something that we're obviously considering. Hopefully we'll have something to share within the next few quarters.
Okay, and let me see if there's any other questions that we can take on. Do we have any of our own CMS, OVPs, or CDNs? So generally speaking, we work with third parties for the CMS OVPs and the CDNs. So these were all the integrations that we looked at in some of the previous slides. The third parties that we do need to integrate to. So generally, these CMSs are very full featured. They have a lot of features where allows you to manage your content quite effectively. Accedo does have our own in-house content management system. It is a lightweight content management system, and we do have a couple of clients using it. Generally, we recommend it for clients who have quite simple of a content and don't need a full featured CMS. It's lightweight, it's cost effective, but most of our customers do use third-party CMSs and OVPs. So another question is, do we need to make changes for each platform separately? Charles?
Great, I can tackle that one. For our systems, we can target, any application can target a designated, what we usually call configuration or edition. So we usually have iOS and Android point to the same set of UI, and such any changes made to that edition would impact both iOS and Android. For the 10-foot experiences, we've sometimes use the same one, but majority of the time we use separate ones, so we can target different experiences for, say, Roku, which could be drastically different than, say, tvOS. And so in those cases, we do have separate editions or applications set up for those. But for the most part, any sort of mobile or tablet, we use the same one.
Okay, thanks, Charles. There are a couple more questions. I think we're running close to our 30-minute mark, so I think the rest of the questions we might need to take back and answer in a subsequent email. I'll hand it back to Tosan for any closing remarks.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Yi and Charles. That was a great presentation. Just as Yi mentioned, for questions not answered, we will be responding via email, so not to worry. This was a great discussion. The recording will be available to all registrants within the next couple of days. And again, thank you very much for your time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.